I can manipulate somebody, I don't think that word by itself is light or dark.
Some natural consequences are very good, positive, and some natural consequences less.
Some sort of life achievement, a business achievement like a company exit, and also with, if you really want to extend it, it can go with being a parent or your life as well.
Welcome to Money Mavericks, the podcast where we explore the dynamic world of finance, investment, and entrepreneurship.
I'm Kirk Drake.
And I'm Daryl Hicks. Together, we're here to bring you the latest insights, expert opinions from the trailblazers who are redefining success in the financial world. But the common theme, and you and I have talked about this before, with most founders and entrepreneurs is that they're usually starting from a place of having something to prove, either to themselves or to someone else. And, fear, guilt, anger, these are really, really powerful fuels that can power you through to do incredible things. The challenge is when you use that, my analogy, like I'm a Star Wars geek, and my analogy is like it's using the dark side of the force as opposed to the light side of the force. And the dark side of the force is very powerful. You can do great things with it. But long term, if that's your primary fuel through most of your life, it's going to lead to a lack of balance. It's going to lead to you making compromises and sacrifices that will bite you in the long term. Because when you're fueled from that place of scarcity, you'll sacrifice your health in pursuit of that career or that business or whatever. You'll sacrifice your family. You'll sacrifice relationships with your kids. You'll sacrifice, integrity. A lot of different things that can be sacrificed. Whereas, the really interesting transition is that, even though just about every single founder I know, with very few exceptions, we're fueled from this place of like having to prove something to someone along the way. The ones that I'm closest to and who I enjoy spending time with the most are the ones that are now fueled by the light side of the force, which is a place of abundance, of being motivated by love and by joy, and just out of this desire to see how far can we go? How great can I truly become? If I get to test myself against the market, can I go build something awesome? And how great would it be, right? It's subtle, but it's a very, very different kind of energy. But I feel like we almost, I don't know if we have to come from like starting through that piece. Like, when you were talking about like what you do in your 20s and how important it is to just get out there and work 70 or 80 hours a week, I think there's a lot of truth in that. And a lot of what pushes you to make those kinds of sacrifices is that hunger, that dark side of the force kind of hunger, right? Or am I wrong on that?
Maybe, I think I think that saying that it was bad, I think net, it was mostly good. Like I didn't use the power, the force to do harm to anybody. I might've been like messing with my central nervous system more. And I got to a point where after 30 years of feeling like I need to have that energy or carry that energy in me that I couldn't do it anymore. But I think like, just take the word like manipulation, for example, right? Like that could also be influence or persuasion. And if I can manipulate somebody, I don't think that word by itself is light or dark. It's what I do with it at the end of the day. And I think for me, the problem was I was waking up after I had the sale of my practice, after I sort of like won the game that most of us are playing, and I got to step back and say, what game do I want to play now? And realize that like, okay, I'm waking up looking for an adversary. Who am I going to prove wrong today? And this isn't like a way to live, and I don't want to do this. And the book that I wrote came from a very pure place and a very good place. And the result of getting really clean and giving up the addictions. When I say addictions, like I wasn't an alcoholic, but I was addicted to having a glass of wine or two every single night as a way to relax and unwind at the end of the day. I was addicted to having nicotine every hour or two as a way to stay in flow. And I said, well, what would it look like if I tried to no longer have to need anyone or anything in order to feel a certain way? And I don't recommend quitting everything at once like I did, but I did that and I got to a pretty good place. And I will say that I when you are at this place that I'm at now, which is I'm not running off of looking to prove anybody wrong. I'm not looking I don't have any past traumas that are carrying me around. I don't know, man. Maybe I could use a little bit of that. I don't know.
I think there's like a really good point in there, which is I think that dark energy leads to burnout. And if you're focused on the right energy, and you're looking at, okay, I'm going to spend 80 hours, but I'm going to constantly be calling this for things that I have special gifts for, that I really enjoy, and and I'm moving it. Then it starts being accretive and not draining, right? And then you don't have to fear about it. I'm going to do one big adventure trip where my phone doesn't work, some foreign country every single year. And at some point I sat down, I was like, wow, in retirement, maybe I'll do more of that. And I was like, well, how many more would I be willing to do? And I was like, I think at 3, I'd be like totally tapped out, right?
Yeah.
I cannot imagine that they're like, because you figure for 20 years, if you went on 3 10-day adventure trips around the world, like, I mean, how much it would be too much.
We're not selfish workaholics, guys, who are married to our jobs. Like there was a survey done on comparing happiness versus meaning. And there was 2 groups of people. Group A were people that prioritized happiness. They woke up every morning and said, my goal for today is to make myself happy. I want to do whatever I have to do to make myself happy. And the second group said, my goal is to wake up and contribute and to have purpose and meaning beyond myself and my own personal happiness. And what they found when they hooked everybody up to brain wires and heart monitors and all of that is that the people that were really just looking after themselves, the inflammation markers went through the roof. Their immunity went down. They were more likely to get sick and die. Whereas the group that prioritized meaning had a purpose, had a bigger reason for being here than just like serving themselves. It was the opposite. The inflammation markers went down. They were less likely to get sick or to get a disease. And the moral of the story is, if you want to be happy, don't pursue happiness directly. Like I'm already starting to get feedback from people that are reading my book and telling me how much it's changing their lives. Like, I don't know that there's anything that feels better than that. You know what I mean? Like to have a stranger say, this idea that you shared caused me to do something differently. That's making me have a better relationship with my daughter right now. You know what I mean? Like that makes me feel really, really good. And it's not taken away from the time that I'm spending with my kids or my wife or myself either. So yeah, like I think that's a big piece of it.
Yeah. And knowing you as well as I do, Derek, I know that you've got a tremendous amount of love in your heart. And that was a real
Thanks.
motivation for you in writing the book as well, because the lessons are really powerful and just getting them out into people's hands. And then, yeah, I can't even imagine to get to see that kind of impact and have that feedback coming in from total strangers. It's awesome, which kind of makes me think, obviously you're drinking your own Kool-Aid here, and Derek's not retiring anytime soon. What game do you want to play now? Going back to your analogy of, the games that you want to play, what do you want to play now?
So, gosh, we could take this in a couple of different directions. I think the game that I'm playing right now is I've got a 15 and a 12-year-old, 2 boys, almost 15 and 13, and they're going to be gone in 3 to 5 years. And I'm in max out the time that I get to spend with them right now is the game that I'm playing. I think a big part of the reason why I moved forward with this book, though, is that my kids were the recipients of a pretty amazing life based off of a lot of the work that I did in my 20s that we talked about before. They hadn't really seen me doing something like launching something, right? Like they were too young when Cadre started to see how that sort of took off. And I wanted them to get a feel for what that was like. And I'm glad I'm able to do that for them. I think that the game I'm playing right now is really just optimizing myself, my connection with God, so that I can really just sort of show up and advance whatever I'm feeling called to do. So I promise I'm not going to get religious with you guys, but there's a story that I love in the Bible called the parable of the sower. And it's a story where the seed in this story is synonymous with connection to God. Feel free to call this connection with the highest version of yourself if you don't believe in God. There's 4 different scenarios. A seed falls down, lands on the pavement, and gets swooped up by a bird. Nothing happens. Second seed falls down, lands in a crack, starts to sprout, can't take root on anything, withers and dies. Third seed falls down, lands in soil in a thorn bush. So it takes root, but then gets choked out by all of the weeds. Fourth and final seed lands in fertile soil, and it produces 100-fold what was intended. The reason I like this story is it doesn't work the majority of the time. If we're talking fertile soil, like my body, my mind, my spirit, if it's not in optimal conditions, it's not going to have the spark. It's not going to feel like it's being called into something. So it either doesn't work and it never does what it's supposed to do. It either doesn't work or it does 100-fold what was intended. And where I am right now is I am of the belief that the best person that any of us can get advice from is the highest and most optimized version of us, right? So it's the best version of me. Instead of me having goals, instead of me thinking about what's my purpose, what's the next thing that I want to work on, I'm thinking about optimizing my sleep, my protein intake, my diet, my relationships, my central nervous system, and waking up every day feeling really clean and really pure. And then I expect those things to reveal themselves to me, and I'll be ready to see them when they pop up.
That's such a powerful, powerful lesson, Derek.
On Money Mavericks, we don't just talk about making money. We explore the innovative strategies and bold decisions that drive real change. Whether you're an experienced investor, a budding entrepreneur, or just someone looking to make smarter financial choices, we've got something for you.
Every week, we're going to sit down with industry leaders, visionaries, and mavericks who share their journeys, challenges, and breakthroughs, from contrarian views on market trends to the secrets behind building a successful startup. You get an inside look at what it takes to thrive in today's economy.
And we promise to keep it real, engaging, and most importantly, actionable. No jargon, no fluff. Just straightforward conversations that you can apply to your own financial journey.
So get ready to challenge your thinking, expand your knowledge, and take control of your financial future. This is Money Mavericks,
where we turn financial dreams into realities and mavericks into legends.
You build a business from scratch and someone comes in and says, hey, this thing that you built, I think it's really cool and really valuable, and I want to give you a whole bunch of money for it.
Right.
It's one of the most flattering and amazing things that a founder can go through. Not all founders want to exit out of their business, but even just to have someone come in and offer you that is really huge. And for the founders who do pull the trigger on that, I mean, I was just talking with a buddy of mine, and completely surprised himself with how emotional he got when he was telling the story. And he said the most random things were the hardest, like having to give up my email address at the domain of my company because I'm no longer there. And he literally like teared up and started to get all choked up about it. And of course, it's not about the email address. What's it about? It's about the fact that for as long as he's known, as long as he can remember, that's who he's been, is the CEO and the founder of this business. And who are you now when you don't own that business anymore? And a lot of people don't really think about that. And again, so you talk about like first world problems, champagne problems, like all of us should be so lucky that someday we're having to deal, but it's a real crisis for a lot of people as they're going through this. What are some of your thoughts on that and how you've helped to the extent that you've helped some people going through that? I'd love to kind of hear about it.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that. I mean, it's not to be cliche about it, but it extends from whether it's some sort of life achievement, a business achievement, like a company exit. And also with, if you really want to extend it, it can go with being a parent. Or your life as well. I don't know when people are going to be watching this, but the Olympics are going on, and I forget the girl's name. Is it the Cunningham, the girl that won the 200, right? Won the gold medal, and they were asking her afterwards, "Oh, this is great, this is fantastic." She goes, "Yeah, but you don't know what went into it. You weren't there behind the scenes, the weeks, the years of me training and sacrificing and going through all of this." And I love that. And that hits because whether it just to, what you're speaking about, someone who creating a company and having an exit, that's your hallmark moment, the validation, the pinnacle, but you weren't there when it's, you're in the back room and you're struggling and can I make payroll? Can I get a customer? Can I do any of this stuff? Are we gonna have to fold it? And you hate those moments you're going through it, and you love those moments because that's what made it getting here. And I say that from, the girl in the Olympics, whether it's selling a company or even I go back to my kids in their 20s and, damn Facebook, they show you those memories every day, and you look at that and you go, God, that was 10 years ago. God, he's there, that's a grown ass man. It was my child now. And you forget those things that you were frustrated with, whether they were a pain or a nuisance or whatever. And now I think those are the times you miss and you reflect upon and you go, and it is a corny Hallmark movie. And it's spot on target.
I think is one of the most powerful gifts that you can give to your kids is that I'm here to help. I'm here to guide. Of course, I have preferences, and I try to keep those preferences grounded in objective reality. of
Mhm.
what I think is going to be best for you. But
Right.
regardless of your choices, I will love you, right? There are natural consequences to your choices. Some natural consequences are very good and positive, and some natural consequences less so, right? But the natural consequences of your choices, including how it impacts, some elements of our relationship, are
Right.
separate from the unconditional love that I have for you, right? And giving them the freedom to go choose for themselves what it is that they can do with your support rather than with you pulling them.
Absolutely. And I'll share something here. And again, I say this respectfully, and I preface this with, for your audience, of this is not a political statement or situation, sociological statement or anything. It's just a fact. Okay. So my daughter is gay. Okay. She came out to me later in life, and she ended up marrying her childhood best friend. And when her when she told me this, my response was, it was just natural. It was like, okay, well, your mom and I did it a certain way. We did it the traditional way. And you see how that worked out. So all I want is someone to love you like I love you. That's it. Now, I'm not saying that's the right way, but the point is that freedom, whether it is in what you want to choose to do for a living, where you want to live, you want to sell tacos on the beach, you want to dye your hair purple, that lets them, I wish my parents had done that. I think that's where it came from, because, I came from the school of, hey, Dad, I want to play tennis and be an art major. You're not gonna be an art major. You're gonna go major in business. Here's what you're gonna do. Okay, sure. Yeah. That's a tough one. And it takes a lot of people I believe, it takes a lot of people years. Oftentimes, that's why advanced adulting works, is because we often find ourselves after a pivotal life event that we are reflective about our own choices, and then how we inflict those choices on other people sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love it. Solid advice there.
Thanks for tuning into this episode of Money Mavericks. We hope you found it insightful and inspiring.
Don't forget to subscribe, like, and leave a review on your favorite podcast platform. And be sure to share this episode with someone who needs to hear it.
Stay connected with us on social media and visit our website for exclusive resources, episode transcripts, and more.
Until next time, keep pushing the boundaries, making smart moves, and turning your financial dreams into realities.
You've been listening to Money Mavericks, where Mavericks become legends.